Hey, Bruce. Hey, Brenda. Welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hey
Hey
guys.
guys. Hey, thanks for having us, guys.
Hello. Great to have it. Great to be here.
We're super glad that you are here because you all have done something that a lot of people have a deep desire to do, and that's to get out of debt. But before we talk about exactly how you guys were able to do that, can you take a moment and say hello to everybody and let them know what you're all about?
Sure. We're Bruce and Brenda McGrew. We're career public educators. I'm an IT director, have been for 18 years for a school district. I'm also a Ramsey Solutions master financial coach. I got that certification after we became debt free, just to do as much as I can to help others take the journey that we took as well.
And I'm Brenda. I am an educator for 24 years now. I have taught preschool, kindergarten, second grade, and now I am a librarian in a local school district. I'm a national board certified teacher, and I'm currently working on my dyslexia therapist certification.
Amazing. So tell our audience a little bit about the debt that you guys were in. What type of debt was it? How much debt was it? And how long did it take you guys to pay it off?
Yeah, absolutely. We started 6 years ago. January be 6 years ago. We had $53,000 in consumer debt at that time, of which $22,000 was specifically credit cards, and then the rest was, new vehicles and whatever else.
Doctor bills.
Whatever else we could get, on the credit. So we got into debt. We just thought that was a normal way of life for us. We thought that's just what people did. We really didn't know any other way. We thought that was the way that everybody lived. We had no personal finance training. And, we're both educated individuals. And so I thought I was good at money because I'm good with numbers. I had a professor in college wanted me to be an accountant. He said, "You're great with this." And I'm like, I can just tear this money up. I know all about it. So, but
You tore it up all right.
We tore it up. There's no doubt about it.
I literally received my first credit card when we were in college. I had signed up for a scholarship. These credit card companies are very smart at what they do. I'd signed up for a scholarship and received a credit card. And then I say our second problem with debt was thanks to the St. Louis Cardinals. We actually have a blanket. I wish I could show it to you. Bruce took our son to a St. Louis Cardinals ball game, and it was cold. And so, they brought around this throw and said, "Hey, sign up for this credit card and we'll give you this free throw." So that's what
free blanket.
Oh, free blanket, excuse me. So we keep that today as to see, hey, one little blanket got us in debt.
That free blanket, I believe, and I've got it wrote down somewhere, I believe it ended up costing us over $8,000, that free blanket.
That's one heck of a blanket.
It was
Yeah,
really
so we
good.
won't blame the Cardinals. We still like them, but
So from the time that you guys started, which was 6 years ago, when did you guys actually become debt free? How long did it take you all?
We took, and I'll get into that a little in a minute. We, the first year we went, as Dave teaches, gazelle intense, and we paid off $30,000 in that first year. And then we switched to more of a hybrid model. And that's actually the model I'm going to try to teach educators as well. And we took on some debt, but it was, smart debt. We analyzed everything we took on. And so we stretched the rest of it out for another 3 years, I believe, something like that.
probably, yeah.
Now, you said that at one point you thought in your mind, like, I am good with money. This professor thinks I should be an accountant. I mean, I
Yes.
must be doing something right. And
Yes.
at some point, you realized that what you thought was not correct. And you weren't that good with money. What caused you to go from, because like you said, you didn't have any type of training. Nobody taught you about money. Everything that you all were doing, you thought is what everybody does. And that's just the way it goes. So what kind of sparked you guys to say, I don't think we're doing this right and we need to do something different?
Well, that's one of the exciting things about it, guys. And it's one of the reasons that we want to help other teachers as well, because this happened by complete accident. What happened was we had a couple move into our area here. The man took a principal job at the school district where Brenda works, and they started worshiping with us at the same church. And so Chris and Sarah wanted to do a Financial Peace University class just as a service to get them acquainted with the the new community they had moved into. We had never heard of Dave Ramsey. We had never heard of Financial Peace University. And I promise the only reason we took that class was just to be supportive of this new couple who had moved into our area. I had no idea that we were doing anything wrong. I had no idea that it could be any different than what it was. We strictly took that class just as an encouragement to this couple. And so I know there are other people out there like Brenda and I that just need the knowledge, just need the education. Because once we learned about how bad debt was, things changed for us.
I think it was really a financial burden for us to even come up with the $100 to buy the kit.
Sure.
To participate in this class. I thought, this is crazy. We're so broke, but yet we're going to pay $100 for somebody to tell us how much in debt we really are. Yeah. But he says accident. I say it was a God thing.
Oh, it was. Looking back, it was God. We had it was God at work. We've grown up together. I was like, she was 16 when we got together, and I was 13.
No, that's not right.
Wasn't 13.
Maybe 15.
15. Well, what's the difference?
Don't make this illegal here.
So, but we had grown up together and done all this, the wrong way together. Mm-hmm. And so, something else we didn't know about was what a good marriage looked like. And so we first destroyed our marriage. That was 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And certainly we give all credit to God for putting that back together. There's a key person in our life come in, and we give our lives to God, focused on him first, and then we just watched one another grow closer and closer together ever since. And so we had a great marriage when we started this debt payoff journey, but it just went to the stratosphere after that.
It's time to get your life insurance together with Legal & General America. As one of the nation's leaders in low-cost, high-quality life insurance to over 1.3 million families, we know how to protect you. For nearly 7 decades, we've been the first and only carrier to add 10 more years of security to our policies for a total of 40 years of life insurance coverage. If you need basic protection until retirement, that deal is perfect. Legal & General America makes understanding and applying for life insurance easy. Our agents are standing by to help you determine the best coverage to fit your family's needs. Visit hisandhermoney.com/LGA to get started on your journey toward financial wellness.
Oh, wow. Love that. So let's talk about the mindset that you guys had to put yourself in. Okay, you all say, hey, we're going to take this class to support this other couple. So, hey, we'll just show up. But talk about, the process when you guys started watching the videos and start to have the discussions in class. How did that change your mind?
Well, it was just, you saw a little every week. It was like you said, when we started, it was just, here we are putting our time in, support this new couple. And then all of a sudden we got to thinking,
we could do this.
We can do this.
We can do this.
And so we've got our minds wrapped around it. And so here is exactly what we had, or the mindset that we had. Like I said, you guys know, Dave teaches the gazelle intense, flee from debt like your hair's on fire. So we did that. The first year, 12 months, we paid off like $30,000. And then we switched to what I call a hybrid model, because honestly, after that first 12 months, our minds were changed. Our mentality toward debt was completely different. We were at a different place. We were just not the same people. And so we switched to what I call this hybrid model. I actually refer to it as the Belgian horse budget. If you guys are familiar with Belgian horses, they are
super
steady, very strong, forward, consistent, unstoppable progress. And so that's what I like to say. We switched from gazelle mode to Belgian horse mode. And so after that, as I mentioned, we took on debt, but it was always very well thought out. If we bought a car, it was one that was well researched. It would be a used car that would be within the value of what it was worth. When my son was 15, you see the blue Corvette up here on the wall. We bought that as a project car. He and I spent about 6 months building that car together. And that was the best money I've ever spent, honestly, for a father-son project. And so we switched, like I say, we switched to this hybrid model. But after a year, there was no doubt we were going to be out of debt. We had a plan. We were locked in together. We were in step with one another, and we had this goal, we had this focus, and we had this complete different mindset about money.
And I think we had to change our mentality of what a want is and what a need is.
Sure.
You know, I want a new vehicle. I had a new vehicle for, I think I traded cars every 2 years. So therefore there's that automobile debt, we're turned upside down. Yes, I need a vehicle to get back and forth to work, but I wanted that 50 or 60,000, no, that's not what, I needed. So we had to change that, the want and need. And so hence we got rid of the automobile debt, got a good dependable vehicle that would still get me and the boys to school and work. But, I didn't have the bells and whistles, I didn't have the heated seats and the heated steering wheels, but I also didn't have the $600 a month payment, so that was the change in mentality.
What I love about you guys' story, you all follow pretty much the same concept that we also follow. We don't believe that it's like a one shoe fits most, scenario. And here it is, you guys were getting out of debt. You all went gazelle in tits for an entire year, but you all came together and you had a discussion, I'm assuming, how are we going to approach this moving forward? So talk a little bit more about that hybrid method, because I'm sure we have people probably listening right now and they're just used to, we can't touch debt at all. Let's just stay focused and pay off all this debt, and then we can possibly entertain debt. So talk about the hybrid method in more detail, and how did you guys come to this agreement?
Sure. Well, there were things we wanted to do, and like I say, we had the mentality about debt. We knew it was bad. We knew the direction we were going, and so we made a decision. If we buy things, and I'll take the Corvette for example, that's behind me. We didn't give a whole lot of money for it. We give whatever it was worth. It was a project, and we knew how much money we were going to put in it, and we knew what it would be worth when we got done with it. So we knew worst case scenario, if we had to sell it, it's a type of vehicle, it's a type of asset, if you will, that I could quickly turn over and get my money back out of. And basically, it in itself would be kind of an emergency fund type purchase. And so when you think about this, and then when you put the Belgian horse model with it, the Belgian horse, one can pull 8,000 pounds by itself. It's an amazingly strong animal. When you put two Belgian horse side by side pulling together, they pull 24,000 pounds.
Not sure I like him calling me a horse.
Well, listen, it's a great a beautiful horse.
Yeah.
The mane
Beautiful.
is gorgeous.
You gotcha.
The mane is stunning. But together, two Belgian horses pull 3 times as much as they could pull individually. And that's the way it is. When you get two people together, two become one, locked in on all things, including money, that's the way it is. And so we had our goals, our dreams. We knew what our future looked like. And we had this plan. And so even though we didn't go gazelle intense, we had a plan we were comfortable with. We had assets that we could liquidate if in an emergency we had to, on top of our emergency fund. And so it's a model that I'm trying to teach going forward, because it allows people to
live
and enjoy life along the way.
Yeah, so let's break this down a little bit further. So does a hybrid method consist of getting debt, but responsible debt, thinking about the interest rate and, if you guys go out and you buy a car, we may get a loan on that? Or is a hybrid method, we're not going to throw all our cash onto this debt. We're going to live a little bit. We may take some cash and still cash flow another vehicle or a project or a vacation and things like that.
That's correct. We had the debt snowball, and within the 12-month time, I forgot what the snowball was up to. It was probably $1,200 or $1,500 a month. I can't remember at that 12-month point. But then we said, we're still going to put a large chunk toward the debt from the snowball. Say like, I don't know, maybe $800 a month. Let's just use that for example. And then we would have $200 a month for a project asset, something with value. And it allowed us to live along the way. And just, listen, when you get our age, you don't want to let good things pass you by. And so you have an opportunity, like with my boy. I think you guys kids are small, but you're going to find this out one day, that you're really cool until they get about 13. And then all of a sudden, you're not as cool as you used to be. And by the time they get 16, you're really dumb. Okay. And so you've got this window here. I'm telling you, listen to me. You've got this window where you're their hero. And that was one of the things with the Project Corvette. I took advantage of that window of opportunity that I had with my oldest son, and it was great. And again, you just have to be smart about it. We were never smart about it. We thought debt was our friend, and when we realized our debt was the enemy, then we were more in a position to make better choices when it comes to debt.
And some of those projects that he was talking about are vacations. I get a bonus once a year for being a national board certified teacher, and that is separate and apart from, our salaries and everything. So we would use some of that too. So a lot of it was a lot of these things were paid for with cash. We didn't take out credit.
No credit.
We never. There was no credit cards.
No.
We've not had a credit card. So none of that was ever bought with credit. And what he was saying, we never made a purchase without talking to each other. He's never told me no about buying something. And same, I've never told him no, because I know he's going to be smart with it, and he knows I'm going to be smart with it. We're not going to do anything detrimental to get us back into the shape that we were in. So, that's the key to communication. I knew this Corvette project was very important. And it worked out wonderful. It became a whole family project. We had a shop in a local town that we went to, and we would meet over there on Saturdays, and everybody would work on the Corvette, and our family would come together. So it was worth it. And in the end, we used the money from that Corvette to, I think, finally pay off our last debt.
It sure was.
So yeah, it worked out.
And again, even with the hybrid method, this Belgian budget method, as I call it, you need this gazelle intense portion. You need to have I started to say, if this was a diet, I would say fast, but I'm in no position to be talking about diets and fasting. But you need something major like that to break the cycle. And so you need a period of fasting or gazelle intense to get your mind right before you try the hybrid approach.
Yeah, I love that. So did you guys adopt anything else outside of the budget? Did you all cut back on eating out, or did you all slash some bills, some extra bills, maybe cable and things like that? Talk about some of the strategies that you guys put in place on top of your salary to knock out this debt.
Well, we got rid of the new vehicle and moved to a used vehicle, so that helped big time. And yes, we did cut back. We had our entertainment budget, and if the entertainment envelope was empty, we didn't go out, So we did that. That was my part. I took care of the grocery buying and the Walmart and things like that. So I knew if the envelope was empty, we just didn't do it.
And here's the thing. We had never budgeted before. We just lived, like there'd never be no tomorrow. And,
paycheck to paycheck.
And ultimately that meant paycheck to paycheck. And so just putting it on paper, was a wake-up call in its own to see, hey, this is where this has been going. Obviously, we can make some changes here. We just didn't know. We'd never done it.
Talk about the process of selling your car, because, we talk to a lot of couples or individuals, or we get a lot of questions and comments on our YouTube videos and things like that, they want to know what is a process like of selling your car. I heard you say that it was a newer vehicle. So how did you go? So how did you guys go about that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a challenge, because typically what happens, as you guys know, and your listeners know as well, when you're upside down on a vehicle and say you owe $20,000 on it and it's worth $15,000, somebody has to come up with $5,000, right? And so there is the difficult part. Now, I was in a position where I had another pickup that was already paid off. And so I borrowed money against that truck to pay the difference. And so, but it is challenging. If you don't have something like that, you really don't have any choice other than to just put all the debt you can each month toward that new vehicle until you get it down to the break-even point to sell it. If you do not have any way to get rid of it and make up the difference when you're upside down. And I know that's a very, very common situation.
Yeah. Some of the problems or situations that people come up against or up is selling the vehicle and then having to buy a new vehicle. So how do they go about buying the used vehicle? Do they go and get a loan? Or as you said, is there some extra cash that maybe you can, come up with in order to buy a new vehicle?
Sure. And when it comes to buying a used vehicle, Again, if you will, I mean, I'm a car guy, so maybe I'll have a little more inside information on this. But I mean, there are vehicles that I would be completely comfortable with buying, taking a 36-month note on at a reasonable bank interest rate, and feel completely good about it. Any kind of Honda, any kind of Toyota, you just need to make some choices there. And if you get a car like that, usually those cars, you're comfortable going anywhere in those. It's not like you're worried about will it start every morning. If you just shop, make some smart choices, you do have options out there. And like I say, if you're in a situation where you're upside down, maybe you don't have any other good option as to borrow some money on this cheaper car. But I mean, again, that's all about working with your spouse, working towards a bigger goal, seeing the big picture, and executing on it.
I love that, making smart choices. I think that is key. Love that, love that. So talk about the conversation that you guys had to have with your children. How was that like, and how did that conversation go?
We dreaded that because these kids had never been to Walmart in their life that they hadn't come out with something.
Right. They wanted something every single time.
And they got it. And so we thought, they'll have withdrawals.
Yeah.
I mean, they will need therapy or something. It wasn't like that.
It wasn't at all. We did give them, jobs to do where they could earn money. Now, I don't know how much they actually earned it.
Exactly.
But it was so easy. We have a 20-year-old and we have a 12-year-old. So, difference in mentality there, with the 12-year-old. Of course, he was about 6 or 7 at the time when all of this started. We gave him a set amount and said, this is yours. You can spend it as, any way you like, when you want to. You can save it. Well, at first, that $20, oh my gracious, it was burning a hole in his pocket every time we went into the store. And then he realized, hey, I can save this up. In a few weeks, I can really buy something. So he has learned along the way that I'm going to save. And he has turned into quite a little saver, And the 20-year-old, he had been working at the time, hadn't he? He was 15 or 16, and he's worked every day since he's been 15 or 16. But we still, gave him a little along the way. But it was a lot easier than we thought it would be.
Yeah, they adapted to it really quickly.
Yeah, more so than we thought they would.
Sure.
Now, how was this far as your social circles can go, and even your family? Because, like you said, this was you all doing what everybody else was doing at first, and then you all made a complete pivot, and you started to do the opposite of what everybody was doing. How did family and friends take to what you guys were learning and implementing into your lives?
Oh, we got made fun of. So
yeah, we did.
The what would Dave do?
Yeah.
Or does Dave approve of you doing it?
Is this Dave approved?
Yeah. So we had to endure some things like that. But, now we're helping them, grasp the big picture. So.
But luckily, on the other hand, some of the couples that we ran around with were also going through this class. They're church members. And, that's who we would normally go out to eat with and things. So we just kind of changed our entertainment. Instead of going out to eat, we'd go to each other's house. We would meet at one another's place. Some of the coworkers made more fun. But as far as our friends and family, they had gone through this program as well. So it worked out okay. We've been fortunate.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that moment that day finally arrived when you all were able to make that very last debt payment. Set the scene for everybody. How did it go?
Go ahead.
Well, we had been paying off little debt all along the way. And, we both get paid once a month as teachers. So we were used to sitting down, paying the bills, and then looking at it going, we only have $200 to get by the rest of the month. And then all of a sudden we had $400 that we could apply to debt. And then we had $500. I mean, our budget meetings each month We high-fived. So we celebrated along the way. I mean, we would jump up, hug each other, I mean, at even one point, he looked at me and he said, "What are we going to do with all this extra money?" And I thought, oh, my gracious, where did that come from? And so I don't know that we really had a huge party because we had celebrated all along.
Along the way, we had talked about, we had looked forward to that day. We were going to, let's go away and have some time for ourselves and all that. But now remember, we went with the hybrid model. And so it was a little different mindset. So after that first year, when we kicked into the Belgian budget, it was this process. Mm-hmm. And so we knew where we were going. We knew what our destination was. We knew what we had to do to get there. And so, for example, when we finally paid it off, I think we had maybe sold the blue Corvette. And with that money, we paid off whatever remained. And so, it was this great feeling. But like I say, it was after that first 12 months, it was part of our destination. It was part of the journey. We knew it was going to happen.
So, yeah, it was exciting. But I don't know that it was more exciting than it was every time we paid off a little debt, because by the time we actually paid off the final one, we had that good feeling for so long, and we were so broke at the beginning that little debt was even better than paying off that final one.
Sure. And that's what goes back to what I said. Everybody needs that gazelle intense period to break that cycle, to get those little wins. And rewire your brain about money and debt and all that. And once you do that, then if you want, you can go to a hybrid approach. If not, stay gazelle intense. Make it work for you.
So what would you say has been the biggest life lesson that you've learned during this entire process?
I would say how bad debt is. I thought it was part of life. I thought that was the way we were supposed to live. And I guess if you look at the big picture, here we are in the greatest country in the world with the most freedom and such an abundance of wealth. And we readily trade that for this bondage of debt. And we encourage others to do the same. And we call it the American way. I guess that's the overall, the largest tragedy, lesson that I take away from this. And one thing that we want to educate people about.
Mine is cash. Use cash for everything. If you see that money going out of your hands, it's so much easier than, or harder to give it up than it is if you just swipe that card. Now, I do have a debit card, of course, but, if I have to turn a $20 bill loose, that's hard, when you're used to not having that 20 and everything. So, yeah, to me, it's cash, using cash for everything.
If there's somebody who's tuned in right now who loved your story and is happy for you all, but they're not sure if they can do what you all did, they don't know if they have what it takes to become debt free, what words of encouragement would you offer to that person if you had the chance to talk to them?
What would you say, Brent?
If we can do it, anyone can do it. I can remember sitting at that first FPU class, and Chris was standing up there talking, and he was talking about, the first baby step, putting $1,000 in the bank. And I literally, in my brain, was thinking, Chris, are you serious? Are you for real? You're a principal. I'm a teacher. You make 3 times what I make. Of course, it's going to be easy for you to put $1,000 in the bank. I can't put $100 in the bank. Right now, I can't even show you a $10 bill in my pocket. And so, it's that mindset that I had to change. And like I said, if we can do it, anybody can do it. We were so far in debt. We got into those check cashing scams. We've done it all. Robbed Peter to pay Paul. And, it's just a mind change. It's a mindset. You can live within your means.
And believe me, I know when people say, well, everybody says that. If we can do it, they can do it. But I promise, when we started out, I would have been the person that would have said, we can't do this. There's no way we can do this. And so I understand when people say that. When you've done one thing for so long, it seems monumental. But again, it's just a step at a time.
Little steps at a time. And celebrate small successes, and you're going to mess up. You're going to fail. During our envelope system, I would have a weak moment and I'd go buy a shirt with our grocery fund. And well, after we ate the shirt, I just moved on, But no, I mean, it's you can't kick yourself when you do mess up. You just, pick yourself up and dust off and move on.
So tell everybody all about your website and how they can stay connected with you guys.
Sure. We have started brucemcgrew.com.
He's the nerd. I'm not.
And on there, we host a podcast and a blog called Team, which stands for Teaching Educators About Marriage and Money. Both of those things are very important to us. And what we want to do is we want to teach educators, we want to change their mindset that you don't have to take a vow of poverty to become a teacher. That's another kind of misconception or mindset we have about educators. Like, well, I want to teach, I'm going to be poor. No, that it don't have to be that way. And we want to help. We want to help people along that line. I also mentioned that since we became debt free, I went through Ramsey's Financial Coach Master Training. I've also started another site called bestmoneycoaches.com, and there I have taken several Ramsey Solutions Master Financial Coaches. I've made a portal of them, and just in an effort, guys, to connect as many people with good coaches as possible, and just use as many good coaches to reach as many people as possible with this message that I know people are just like Brenda and I. There's so many of us that just need to hear the truth.
Love that. We will make sure that we have all of the links included in the show notes and in the description.
Bruce, Brenda, this has been incredible. This has been inspirational. Thank you so
Yes.
much for taking time out of your schedule to share your story with our audience today.
Thank you, guys.
Well, guys,
Thank
thanks
you.
for having us. We enjoyed it.
We sure did. We just want to give back what was given to us.
Absolutely.